Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we're going back 12,000 years to the night the world ended. A comet fell from the sky. Ice sheets 2 miles thick vaporized in seconds. Entire continents were swallowed by 400 feet of rising water. And somewhere beneath those waves, Atlantis and dozens of lost civilizations we've never known
The flood is coming!
forever.
Help me climb higher!
This is the story of the Great Flood,
To
the
the
Younger
mountains,
Dryas
quickly!
impact,
The sea
and the
takes
lost
everything.
world that came before us. In the next 2 hours, you'll discover what scientists are only now beginning to prove, that 12,900 years ago, Earth didn't just change, it was reset. Nanodiamonds buried
Atlantis,
deep in ancient soil.
Rise
A
from the depths.
31-kilometer crater hidden under Greenland's ice. A black layer of ash spread across 2 continents. And a 3-meter sea level rise in just 50 years. You'll walk through Doggerland, the sunken bridge between Britain and Europe. You'll see Sundaland, where 700,000 square miles of civilization now sleep beneath the South China Sea. You'll witness the night fire rained from the heavens and 75% of North America's giants vanished. And you'll understand why every ancient culture, from Sumer to Mexico, from India to the Bible, remembered the same catastrophe, the Great Flood. So before you get comfortable, take a gentle moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if these deep sleep history stories help you find peace, sleep better, or simply reflect on our shared journey through time. Now, close your eyes, breathe slowly,
We record
let your
the
mind
deluge,
drift back
guided by the stars,
beyond history,
a new beginning
beyond
from the
memory,
deep waters.
to a world we've forgotten. A world where the map looked nothing like today, where sea levels were 400 feet lower, where land connected continents, where megafauna roamed endless grasslands, and where humans built something extraordinary. 12,000 years ago, the world was not the one you know. The oceans rested 120 meters lower, and the coastlines we see today did not yet exist. Rivers flowed across vast grasslands where the sea now lies, and ice gripped the poles like a slow-breathing beast. Humanity was a whisper in the wind, fragile, curious, enduring. Yet somewhere beneath the endless skies of the Pleistocene, our ancestors thrived in ways we are only beginning to remember. Imagine standing on the edge of a continent that no longer exists. To the north lay Doggerland, a green bridge between Britain and Europe. Families walked there under gray skies, their footprints pressed into wet earth now buried beneath the North Sea. To the south and east lay Sundaland, a sprawling realm of rainforests and river valleys connecting today's Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam. And far to the north and east, Beringia stretched from Siberia to Alaska, its frozen plains bridging 2 worlds. Across this land, humans migrated, chasing the herds that fed them. Woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant
the
ground
great
sloths
It gives
The
us
world
warmth.
was alive
Yes,
with
Father.
creatures of
And the
enormous
stars watch
strength
over
and
us.
grace, each adapted to the cold breath of a dying ice age. But beneath that frozen beauty was change. The sun rose over glaciers that were already beginning to melt. The winds shifted. The climate quivered like a fever dream. In the shadow of this change, human culture took its first steps toward memory. The Clovis people in North America crafted fluted stone points with astonishing precision, tools so perfect that archaeologists still marvel at them today. They were hunters, yes, but also artists of survival, drawing knowledge from the stars and seasons. And perhaps there were others, civilizations that rose beside ancient seas, their lights now extinguished beneath the waves. It's hard to imagine, but harder still to dismiss. The depths of our oceans keep their secrets well. Stone structures off Yonaguni, patterns in the Bahamas, traces of walls off the coasts of India and Cuba. Maybe they're just rocks, maybe they're ruins. But as you listen to the wind moving through time, you might wonder, what if the stories of Atlantis were not myths, but memories of a world before the flood?
These terraces are
Tonight,
clearly the
let
work of
your
man,
mind
yet
wander
impossibly
there,
ancient.
Aye,
to the world
built before the great flood
water
itself.
rose.
By the saints,
A
look at
world
the
where
scale of
the
it.
air was colder, the
It
stars
must be the
clearer,
lost city of the
and
ancients.
the earth so quiet you could hear civilization breathing in its sleep. If you could travel back 13,000 years, the map of the earth would feel unfamiliar, yet strangely intimate. The shapes of the continents would look like sketches drawn in the wrong proportions, and where we see endless ocean today, there would be land
Look,
stretching
the
far
elephants are
beyond
crossing the river.
imagination.
They are
Southeast
spraying water.
Asia, for instance, was not a scattering of islands. It was one vast landmass, Sundaland, a cradle of life, warmth, and mystery. Here, rivers carved their paths through emerald jungles. Herds of wild elephants and ancient rhinoceroses roamed the plains. And perhaps among them, humans built their first villages, simple yet sacred, long before the pyramids or Sumerian ziggurats. Some researchers believe Sundaland might have been one of humanity's earliest centers of civilization, a place where myths like Lemuria or Mu may have found their origins.
The river
Imagine
is high today.
lush valleys where modern
Be careful near the
Indonesia
water.
now lies, forests stretching from Vietnam to Borneo, and the South China Sea, not a sea at all, but a great plain of lakes and rivers. The people of that age lived close to the land, guided by stars, tides, and the rhythm of
the monsoon has
winds.
finally cleared enough to
They
read the
knew
sextant.
the ocean intimately, its gifts, its moods, its warning whispers. Generations learned to read the sky the way we now read words, tracing constellations that
The flood
told when
takes
the rains
everything.
would come
Pull harder.
or when the tides
Save
would
us,
turn.
where shall we go?
And yet, as the ice began to melt, the heartbeat of the earth quickened. The sea crept closer each
It's all
year,
gone.
quietly
Why has this happened
first,
to us?
then faster,
Pull
hungrier.
harder on the oars.
Villages were abandoned, coasts became marshes, then lagoons, then vanished beneath rising waves. The people must have watched in disbelief as their world was swallowed, not in a day, but over lifetimes. The shoreline retreated like a dream slipping from memory. But memories are stubborn. Across Asia, stories of a great flood endure, from the Malay annals to the Hindu epics. Tales of gods who sent water to cleanse the earth, of mountains that became islands, of survivors who built new worlds on higher ground. They all echo the same grief, the same awe. What science now calls the melting
rains
of the
came, my
ice
children,
sheets,
such as the
our
world had never
ancestors
seen.
remembered as
40 days
divine
and 40
wrath
nights.
or renewal. Perhaps both were true. In the silence of the deep seas south of Java and Sumatra, sonar scans have revealed strange formations, terraces, walls, geometric ridges buried under layers of silt. Are they natural, or are they the ruins of forgotten hands? No one can say for sure, but in the hush of night, when you imagine the tides whispering over a sunken city, you might sense that some stories refuse to drown. The end of the Ice Age was not a sudden blaze of warmth. It was a tremble. The earth exhaled, slowly at first, as glaciers began their long retreat. But each sigh carried chaos. Rivers roared with meltwater. Valleys turned to lakes. The air shimmered with moisture. And the world, after thousands of years of silence, began to stir. For generations, humans had lived in balance with the cold. They had known the rhythm of scarcity, the patience of winter, the clarity that came with endurance. But now, everything shifted. The mammoths, those gentle giants of endurance, began to vanish. The saber-toothed cats, too fierce for a warmer world, followed. Across the tundra and the steppe, silence replaced the thunder of hooves. Forests crept northward, reclaiming the land ice once ruled. To the people of that time, this must have felt like the awakening of the gods, the earth changing shape before their eyes. In their stories, they might have spoken of fire falling from the sky, or stars that broke the horizon. Some scientists today believe a comet may indeed have shattered above North America, its fragments igniting wildfires across continents. They call it the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a cataclysm that plunged the warming world back into sudden, brutal cold. Imagine it, a world on the brink of renewal, suddenly frozen again. Rains turned to snow, crops failed, herds died. Entire
What does it
landscapes
mean?
returned
The
to
fire
ice, as if
approaches.
time itself had panicked and pressed rewind. And yet, humanity endured. They huddled around new fires, rebuilt tools, and passed down memories through stories, stories that would one day become the flood myths of every culture. In the far north, survivors of the Clovis culture may have watched their hunting grounds vanish beneath sheets of ice. In the south, near what is now Indonesia, the people of Sundaland saw their rivers swell and their villages drown. To them, the sea must have seemed alive, an unstoppable god reclaiming the land. And when, centuries later, the ice finally released its grip for the last time, the oceans surged. It was then, around 10,800 BC to 9,600 BC, that the great flood legends likely began. Cities and coastlines were swallowed. Mountains became islands. Entire histories were erased beneath rising seas. But memory found a way to survive. It hid in songs, in symbols, in the oldest myths of every land, from Plato's Atlantis to the flood of Utnapishtim, from Noah's Ark to Manu's boat, all told of a deluge that ended one world and gave birth to another. When you close your eyes tonight, picture that final dawn, the last cold morning of the Pleistocene, a world half ice, half awakening, a blue light spreading over fields of melting frost, the first birds rising from the trees, and somewhere far beyond the horizon, a single drop of water falling into the sea, marking the beginning of everything that would follow.
Imagine a comet fragment, 4 kilometers wide, glowing like a newborn sun, racing toward Earth at 60,000 miles per hour. It is 12,900 years ago, a world between worlds. The last ice sheets still crown the northern hemisphere, 2 miles thick in places, and the air carries the hush of a planet on the edge of change. Humanity watches the heavens, not in fear, but in wonder. The stars have always been messengers of harvests, of omens, of gods. But that night, the sky did not speak, it screamed. No one alive could have understood what was coming. A streak of white light tore through the clouds, brighter than 1,000 moons. Then came the sound, a roar that shattered silence across continents. When the comet struck the ice, it was as if Earth itself inhaled in shock. The pressure, the shock, the molten glass fused into stone, all whisper the same truth. Something immense once fell from the sky. Across North America, a strange black layer of soil appears in the earth, rich in soot and carbon, a boundary between 2 eras. They call it the black mat layer, the fingerprint of global fire. Mixed within it are tiny diamonds, no bigger than dust, called nanodiamonds, formed only under the pressure of an explosion beyond comprehension. And in other sites, from Canada to Syria, traces of platinum anomalies mark the same horizon, as if the Earth itself had been showered by the remnants of a dying star. For years, the idea was dismissed as myth, but as science digs deeper, the pieces begin to align, like constellations rediscovered in an ancient
The waters
sky.
of life return to
The
the
younger
land.
Dryas wasn't just a
You
pause
must
in
follow
warming.
them now.
It was a planetary wound. The comet may not have struck just one place. It might have shattered in the air, raining fragments across continents, igniting forests, melting glaciers, and cloaking the atmosphere in smoke. In that smoke, the world grew dark again. The warmth fled. The sun itself became a memory behind a veil of ash. Crops withered. Animals died.
The air turned cold, sharp, metallic, the breath of a planet holding stillness like grief. For nearly 1,000 years, ice reclaimed the north. It was as if nature, stunned by its own creation, pressed the reset button on life. But even then, beneath that frozen sorrow, seeds of renewal waited. Humanity endured, as it always does, carrying within its memory both the terror and the beauty of the night the sky fell.
So the first fires began where the ice broke. Shock waves rippled outward from the point of impact, flattening forests, turning air into flame. Trees snapped like kindling, their sap boiling inside trunks before they even touched the ground. The sky turned white, then red, then black, colors no living creature had ever seen in such succession. And above it all, a wind screamed. Across continents, the fragments of the comet scattered like burning seeds. Some exploded mid-air, showering sparks that set entire valleys ablaze. Others struck the ground, carving craters that filled with molten glass. It was as if the heavens had cast the stars themselves onto the earth, and the earth, in reply, caught fire. The forests of North America, the tundra of Siberia, the plains of Europe, all burned together, one endless storm of flame and ash. The heat rose high enough to melt boulders. Rivers steamed and vanished. The sky filled with soot so thick that day turned to night. For months, maybe years, sunlight struggled to reach the ground. Photosynthesis halted, plants withered. Animals wandered blind through landscapes of ash, searching for water that no longer flowed. Scientists studying this period call it a global biomass burning event, an inferno that left behind microscopic traces, soot particles, carbon spherules, and magnetic grains melted by temperatures that no natural wildfire could create. Under microscopes, they look like tiny worlds, frozen in mid-destruction, each one a memory of fire. And yet, not everything perished. Some humans, small groups scattered across continents, found refuge in caves, sheltered valleys, and along coastlines still spared from the worst of the fires. They would have watched the sky glow orange at night, the stars blotted out by smoke, and the air tasting faintly of iron. The world must have felt smaller, fragile, almost unreal. In their fear, they might have looked upward, wondering what angered the heavens so deeply. Later, as centuries passed and stories grew, these memories would become myths. Tales of divine punishment, of celestial serpents, of suns that fell to earth. The Hopi spoke of fire falling from the sky. The Egyptians remembered a time when Ra hid his face. The Greeks wrote of Phaethon losing control of the chariot of the sun. Different names, same truth. Something once burned the world. But fire was only the beginning. After the flames came silence. Dust and smoke filled the atmosphere, blocking the sun. Temperatures plummeted. The world that had been warming for millennia suddenly froze again. Glaciers stopped melting, then grew, and life, still trembling from the fires, now faced ice once more. It was a paradox. Fire had made the world cold. In the smoke-darkened skies, sunlight scattered and faded. The oceans cooled, storms raged, and for the next 1,000 years, the Earth entered what scientists call the Younger Dryas, the last great chill. Humanity, reduced to fragments and whispers, had to begin again, not knowing they had just survived one of the greatest cataclysms in all of prehistory. And yet, even in that darkness, fire remained, not in the forests or the air, but in human hearts, the flame of memory, the light that refused to die.
The fires ended long before the cold did. When the last embers sank into the ash, a silence deeper than any before settled over the earth. Snow fell where jungles once breathed. Ice spread where rivers had run. The sky, once red with flame, turned pale, drained, distant. It was not simply winter. It was remembrance frozen in air. For the next 1,200 years, the world stood still. Scientists call this time the Younger Dryas, a sudden return to ice after warmth had already begun. But to those who lived through it, to the scattered tribes, the wandering survivors, it must have felt like the gods had turned away. Seasons lost their rhythm. Summers were brief, pale things, gone before crops could root. Winters dragged endlessly, cruel and beautiful. The great herds were gone. The mammoths had fallen silent. Without them, entire ecosystems collapsed. Hunters turned to gathering, then to shelter, then to prayer. They carved stories into bone and rock, trying to keep memory alive through symbols, suns, spirals, serpents of fire crossing the sky. Even in the stillness, they remembered movement. Even in the dark, they remembered light. Across continents, the signs of that age remain. Layers of blackened earth, seeds encased in frost, pollen records showing forests vanishing almost overnight. Ice cores from Greenland tell the story in silent code. Tiny bubbles of ancient air trapped for millennia, showing a drop in temperature so swift it defies belief. 1 century, the earth was warming. The next, it fell into cold sharper than anything humanity had known. And yet, life endured. It always does. Beneath the snow, grass waited. In the darkness, sparks of fire still flickered in human hands. Families huddled close, telling stories not just of fear, but of hope, of a time when the sun would return and the seas would calm. They watched the stars, now dim behind veils of dust, and they whispered to them as to old friends. "We remember," they might have said. "We are still here." Over time, the ice began to withdraw, not suddenly, but shyly, as if the earth was waking from a long and painful dream. Rivers returned, carving new paths over old scars. Forests crept back, timid but persistent, and with them came the animals, the birds, the songs of dawn. Humanity rose again, carrying with it the ghost of the night the sky fell, a memory too heavy to vanish, too sacred to forget. It was out of that memory that the oldest myths were born, the floods, the suns, the rebirths.
For when the ice melted once more, the world did not return to what it had been. It became something new, reshaped, cleansed, and waiting for civilization to arise again. Tonight, as you listen, imagine standing on that threshold, the last morning of the long winter, the air sharp and bright, the horizon trembling with light, a world reborn, silent yet alive. Beneath the quiet snow, seeds stir, the earth breathes again.
When the cold finally loosened its grip, the world did not simply warm, it awakened. The glaciers that had held the planet in stillness began to weep, first softly, like tears running down the face of time, then faster, louder. Rivers swelled with meltwater that had waited 1,000 years to move. The sound must have been thunderous, the groaning of mountains, the sigh of an earth remembering motion. In that thaw, beauty and terror lived together. Walls of ice, taller than cities, cracked apart with the sound of creation itself. Imagine standing there, the air trembling, the horizon glowing pale blue, with light reflected from melting walls that stretched farther than sight. When one of those walls broke, it was not water that flowed, but oceans. Torrents hundreds of meters high tore across the land, scouring everything in their path. In what is now Washington State, the scablands still bear the scars. Great canyons carved not by time, but by a single moment of fury. Scientists believe that a massive glacial lake, Lake Musula, once held enough water to cover entire states. When its ice dam broke, the flood that followed was beyond imagination. Waves 300 meters tall, racing faster than sound, tearing rock from the earth itself. It left behind giant ripples of stone, each larger than a house, frozen waves from a storm that lasted only days. But this was not an isolated rage. Across the world, the ice broke in chorus. From the poles to the equator, the planet entered what scientists call Meltwater Pulse 1A, a sudden, catastrophic rise in sea level. Within 50 years, the oceans climbed more than 3 meters. For coastal peoples, that was the end of everything they knew. Villages vanished. Shorelines moved inland by miles. The rhythm of the tides no longer matched the stars. To the ancient eye, it must have seemed as if the sea itself had risen in judgment. Imagine waking each season to find the water closer than before. Forests that once stood above the waves now swayed beneath them. The bones of animals and the ruins of homes were swallowed by silence. And yet, as the land drowned, the world became alive again. Rivers connected, climates softened, and green returned to places once buried beneath ice. But balance always asks for a price. The melting unleashed chaos, floods, storms, landslides, and shifting continents. The earth groaned under the weight of its own transformation. And somewhere in the minds of the survivors, a thought began to take shape that the gods, or perhaps the planet itself, had decided to begin anew. The ice was dying, but in its death, it gave birth to the world we now live in.
The oceans had waited patiently, held back by ice for tens of millennia. When the melt began, they did not rush, they remembered. Water always remembers where it once belonged. The seas traced their ancient paths again, reclaiming valleys, swallowing plains, and turning mountains into islands. The age of frozen silence ended with a whisper that became a roar. It began slowly, a few inches each year. But for those who lived close to the shore, that was enough to watch their world dissolve. The ocean crept into homes, fields, and memories. Shorelines moved like ghosts, inch by inch, taking forests, then villages, then entire coastlines. The sea was alive, restless, rising not as an enemy, but as an old god awakening from sleep. Around the same time, the planet experienced another pulse, Meltwater Pulse 1b, the second great surge. Between 11,500 and 11,000 years ago, the oceans rose again, sometimes as much as 20 meters within a few centuries. Humanity watched in awe and fear. Imagine seeing the tides climb the height of a tree in your lifetime, or the land where your ancestors hunted, now resting beneath waves that glittered in moonlight. In the north, the land called Doggerland once bridged Britain to Europe. Green meadows, rivers full of fish, herds of reindeer and mammoths grazing under gray skies. Families lived there, built fires, sang songs that no one remembers now. But as the ice melted, the North Sea surged forward. The fields became marshes, then lakes, then the sea itself. One day, the wind over the water carried the memory of grass. The next, it carried salt. Doggerland was gone. Only fishermen's nets, thousands of years later, would drag up bones of people, deer, tools, and a world erased by water. Far to the south, another world drowned, Sundaland, the lost continent of Southeast Asia. Once stretching from modern Vietnam to Java and Borneo, it had been a vast realm of forests, rivers, and life. The people there watched as the ocean crept through valleys and jungles, swallowing the lowlands one by one. They moved to higher ground, carrying seeds, stories, and fire. But they could not outrun the tide. Slowly, piece by piece, their homeland fragmented into thousands of islands. Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, the broken peaks of a single drowned land. The legends of these places still whisper of that time. The Malays speak of a great sea that came in the night. The Javanese tell of mountains that sank. Even Plato's Atlantis, though set far away, follows the same pattern, a golden land swallowed by the sea, punished, or perhaps simply reclaimed. These are not separate stories, they are echoes of the same event, a planetary remembering. As the waters rose, humanity adapted. The survivors learned to build boats,
to follow tides, to find food along the shifting coasts. Navigation, the art of reading the ocean, may have been born from loss. Maybe that's why every ancient culture gazed at the sea not just with fear, but reverence. They knew the water that takes also gives. The great melt reshaped everything: geography, climate, even imagination. It washed away the old boundaries and forced humankind to move, think, and dream anew. Beneath the calm surface of the modern seas lies an older world, fields and rivers and homes, a memory waiting in silence. And every wave that touches the shore tonight still carries its echo.
The sea does not take suddenly. It waits, it breathes, it returns. For generations, the survivors of the great melt watched the horizon with both awe and fear, knowing that each dawn, the line between land and water had moved again. The tide had become a calendar of loss. By 9600 BC, the last of the great ice sheets collapsed. Meltwater poured into the oceans like veins awakening in the body of the earth. Coastlines redrew themselves overnight. Islands disappeared between one lifetime and the next. And what had been myth, the wrath of the sea, became memory, etched into the hearts of those who lived through it. Imagine standing on a hill that once overlooked a valley. You return a season later, and that valley is gone, replaced by a bay stretching to the horizon. The rivers you knew are now the floor of a sea. The forests where your ancestors hunted are coral gardens, and every wave that touches your feet whispers the names of places no one will ever walk again. In those days, humanity scattered. Some fled inland, following retreating forests and rivers. Others took to the water, building boats from memory and desperation. They carried seeds, stones, and stories, the beginnings of navigation, of migration, of myth. And wherever they landed, they spoke of the same dream, the world that drowned beneath the sea. Archaeologists now uncover traces of that vanished world, the outlines of settlements beneath the Black Sea, stone walls off the coast of India, roads beneath the waves of Japan's Yonaguni. They're not proof of Atlantis, they are proof of something older, a truth that every ocean keeps, that once there was more land, more life, more home than we can remember. The meltwater pulses ended, but their echoes shaped everything that followed. The floods carved new rivers and reshaped the continents. They created the Mediterranean, the English Channel, the Gulf of Carpentaria. They erased borders before borders ever existed. And from that washing away, civilization would one day rise, built by those who still carried the memory of loss in their stories, their rituals, their reverence for the sea. Perhaps that is why so many ancient cultures began with water, born beside it, worshiping it, fearing it. To the Sumerians, the sea was chaos and creation. To the Egyptians, it was Nun, the dark water from which all life emerged. To the Greeks, it was Oceanus, the endless father of all rivers. To the Polynesians, it was ancestry itself, the pathway of souls. The flood was not just destruction, it was renewal, the closing of one world, the quiet birth of another. When the sea finally found its balance, the planet looked much like it does today. The ice had melted, the oceans had risen, and the last bridges of land had sunk forever. The old world was gone, but its memory remained in myth, in stone, in the human heart. And perhaps when you stand beside the shore at night, listening to the waves roll in and out, you can still hear it, the sigh of the earth remembering when the sea took the world.
What if Atlantis wasn't mythology, but memory? The question lingers like a ripple through time. Plato, writing around 360 BC, spoke of a powerful island civilization that vanished in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, people dismissed it as allegory, a moral fable about arrogance and decay. Yet what if Plato wasn't inventing a story, but echoing one already ancient in his time? His account describes an advanced culture, magnificent temples, canals, and harbors swallowed by the sea after catastrophic floods and quakes. In one terrible day and night, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths. For generations, scholars searched for moral meaning, but perhaps what he left us was not a parable, but a map. Across the planet, scattered beneath waves, lie ruins that whisper of cities lost not in imagination, but in water. The Richat structure, in the heart of the Sahara, forms a near-perfect circle, 40 kilometers wide, visible even from space. Some call it the Eye of the Sahara. Its concentric rings mirror Plato's description of Atlantis's capital, alternating bands of land and sea. Was it once coastal before the desert claimed it? Thousands of miles away, on the Greek island of Santorini, lies the ghost of another catastrophe. Around 1600 BC, a volcanic eruption destroyed the Minoan city of Akrotiri, an advanced maritime culture that traded across the Aegean. The explosion left behind a massive caldera, its cliffs scarred and hollow. When Plato described an island that fell beneath the sea, did he echo the memory of Santorini's fall, passed down through generations of sailors and storytellers? Further west, near the Bahamas, divers discovered a curious formation known as the Bimini Road, massive limestone blocks forming a straight path beneath clear blue waters. Some believe it's natural. Others see it as the remnant of harbor walls or ancient roads, the bones of something man-made. What if these sites, scattered and far apart, were fragments of one larger truth? The sea covers 10 million square miles of what was once dry land. During the Great Floods 12,000 years ago, entire continents changed shape. Atlantis, then, may not have been a single city, but a memory of all that was lost when the waters rose. It's easy to forget how much of our world lies underwater. The continental shelves, the shallow regions extending from coastlines, were once plains, forests, and river valleys. That is where people would have lived, farmed, and built their cities. When the seas rose more than 400 feet after the Ice Age, those worlds disappeared. Atlantis, in this sense, is not a myth. It is a mirror, a reflection of everything humanity lost, and perhaps everything it hopes to find again. Every culture remembers a flood, from Mesopotamia's Utnapishtim to Noah to Manu in India to the Deucalion of Greece. They all speak of a great cleansing, of a civilization drowned but not forgotten. Plato may have simply written down what every shore had already whispered, that once the sea came for the world, and we have never stopped remembering it.
Beneath the world we know, another world sleeps. The ocean floor holds stories older than pyramids, older than language itself. In the quiet dark, where light fades and pressure deepens, the remains of cities rest, their walls softened by coral, their streets veiled in sand. They are not myths, they are memories wearing the shape of stone. Off the coast of Japan lies one of the strangest places ever found, the Yonaguni Monument. Discovered by divers in 1986, it rises from the seabed like the shadow of a forgotten civilization. Massive terraces, steps, and pillars stretch in perfect angles as though carved by deliberate hands. Some scientists insist it is natural, the result of geological fracturing. But others, studying the symmetry, the patterns, the staircases that seem to lead somewhere, whisper otherwise. The structure lies nearly 100 feet underwater. If it is man-made, it must have been built more than 12,000 years ago, before the last great flood, before recorded time itself. Far to the west, in the waters off Dwarka, India, another mystery waits. The city of Dwarka was long believed to be a myth, the home of the god Krishna, said to have sunk into the sea when his time on earth ended. In 2001, marine archaeologists discovered ruins off the coast of Gujarat. Stone walls, anchors, pottery, and streets laid out in grids. Radiocarbon dating placed some artifacts at nearly 9,000 years old. The city described in scripture, once thought divine, turned out to have foundations buried in silt and silence. And then there is Heraklion, Egypt's Atlantis. Once a bustling port near the mouth of the Nile, it vanished 2,000 years ago, swallowed by shifting earth and rising tides. For centuries, it lived only in legends, until divers found colossal statues, columns, and temples lying beneath the waves of the Mediterranean. Coins, jewelry, and stelae marked with hieroglyphs told its story. Trade, worship, life, and loss. Heraklion did exist, proof that even mighty cities can sleep beneath the sea for millennia and still whisper their names when found again. Each discovery, from Yonaguni to Dwarka to Heraklion, carries the same echo. The earth changes, but memory remains. The ocean is both grave and guardian. It erases the outlines, but keeps the essence. To the human eye, these submerged ruins are miracles of coincidence. To time itself, they are merely continuations, reminders that the sea has always been rewriting our history. And there are more. Off the coasts of Cuba, the Bahamas, Malta, and Sicily, sonar scans have revealed geometric patterns, right angles, terraces, and what appear to be pyramids, buried under silt at depths too deep for human habitation in modern times. The further we look, the more the ocean begins to resemble an archive, not of legends, but of memory. When Plato wrote that Atlantis sank in one day and night of misfortune, perhaps he was remembering what so many others had seen. Not one island, but many, each swallowed by a rising sea that showed no mercy. The tragedy of Atlantis is not that it was lost, but that its loss was repeated again and again wherever the tide met human ambition. The sea remembers. It remembers walls and prayers, voices and firelight, laughter and empire. And one by one, it will give them back, not in stone, but in story.
The greatest mystery of Atlantis is not that it disappeared, but that we still expect to find it whole. Perhaps the truth is simpler and sadder. Atlantis was never one place. It was everywhere the sea returned. Today, more than 10 million square miles of Earth's former land lie beneath the oceans. Plains, valleys, mountains, and coastlines now hidden under hundreds of feet of water. These are not unreachable in mythic sense, but in the practical one. We have mapped Mars more completely than our own ocean floor. Over 70% of the seabed remains unseen by human eyes. Atlantis may not be lost in legend. It may simply rest in the darkness we have yet to explore. The ocean is the last great archive of forgotten worlds, but to reach it is to face immense challenges. The pressure at depth crushes steel. Light cannot reach beyond a few hundred meters. Currents shift sands, burying structures anew. What we find today may be hidden again tomorrow, wrapped in silence and time. The sea keeps its secrets not out of malice, but memory. It protects the dead like a mother covering her child. For centuries, explorers have searched, some with faith, others with sonar. Expeditions to the Caribbean, to the Azores, to the coasts of Spain and Morocco, all hoping to glimpse the shadow of Plato's island. Yet what they find are fragments, walls, pavements, submerged harbors, each whispering a truth too vast to belong to a single place. Atlantis was not an island. It was an era, a moment when land and sea traded places, when humanity first learned that even the ground beneath its feet could vanish. The Eye of the Sahara, Yanaguni, Dwarka, Heraklion, Doggerland, Sundaland. They are not rivals for Atlantis, but reflections of it. Each a verse in the same song, the story of the Great Flood, sung differently on every shore. Some scientists estimate that tens of thousands of ancient settlements still lie beneath shallow seas, waiting. Others say we may never recover them all, that the ocean floor is too vast, too dynamic. But perhaps that is fitting. Atlantis, after all, was never meant to be found. Its purpose was to remind us that no civilization, no empire, no monument endures forever. And yet, in another way, we have already found it.
Atlantis lives in every discovery, every question we ask about our past. It lives in the curiosity that drives us to dive deeper, to map, to wonder. It lives in the awareness that the world we stand on is fragile, that the line between land and sea is a promise easily broken. When you think of Atlantis, do not imagine a single city under the waves. Imagine a million memories, scattered, sleeping, waiting for light to touch them again. The ocean has not forgotten. It is only waiting for us to remember. They built temples older than the pyramids, and then they buried them. Why? In the dry hills of southeastern Turkey, beneath layers of dust and silence, lies a place that should not exist. Göbekli Tepe. When it was uncovered in the 1990s, archaeologists were stunned. The site is over 11,500 years old, older than Stonehenge, older than Sumer, older even than agriculture itself. It rewrote human history in a single breath. Massive limestone pillars, some weighing more than 16 tons, rise in circular enclosures. Each stone is carved with animals, foxes, vultures, snakes, lions, etched with precision, elegance, and intention. They are not crude. They are not primitive. Whoever built Göbekli Tepe understood geometry, astronomy, and architecture at a level no one believed existed that far back in time. But perhaps the strangest part is this. Around 9,500 BC, after centuries of use, the entire complex was buried, intentionally. The builders filled it with dirt and stone, as if to protect it or to seal it away from the world. No battle destroyed it. No disaster erased it. It was deliberately hidden, as if the people who made it wanted it to be forgotten or preserved for a time far beyond their own. Why would an ancient civilization bury the heart of its knowledge? Some say it was ritual, the closing of an age. Others whisper that they saw something coming, a shift in the heavens, the end of a world. Whatever the reason, when Göbekli Tepe was covered, it marked the dawn of forgetting. Thousands of kilometers away, in the lush highlands of Indonesia, another mystery rises, Gunung Padang. At first glance, it looks like a hill of grass and stones. But beneath it, scans reveal terraces, chambers, and foundations stretching deep into the earth. Carbon dating suggests that some layers could be 20,000 years old, 10 millennia before the pyramids. If true, it would make Gunung Padang the oldest known pyramid on Earth, built when humanity was still supposed to be primitive, before the last ice age even ended. The stones were cut, stacked, and aligned with the cardinal directions,
as if the builders already understood the rhythm of the cosmos. Both Göbekli Tepe and Gunung Padang tell the same quiet truth. Civilization did not begin from nothing. It began from memory. These were not humanity's first steps. They were the echoes of something older, something that refused to die completely when the floods came. But what if these monuments were not the start of civilization, but its rebirth? The survivors of the Great Flood, carrying fragments of knowledge from a world before, might have built them as testaments to what once was, a library carved in stone, a prayer to time itself. The question that lingers is not how they built them, but why they stopped.
Civilizations do not vanish in a single moment. They fade, like constellations swallowed by dawn. The Great Flood had passed, but its echo remained. When the ice sheets melted, the world changed not just in shape, but in soul. Across continents, the earth trembled with aftershocks of the Younger Dryas, a time when the planet itself seemed to awaken violently. Rivers shifted their courses, mountains cracked, and weather turned unpredictable. The familiar patterns of the sky no longer matched the rhythms of the ground. Humanity, once scattered, curious, inventive, found itself surrounded by uncertainty. In North America, a people known to us as the Clovis culture vanished. They were hunters of mammoths and artisans of stone, crafting fluted spear points so precise that modern experts still struggle to replicate them. Then, suddenly, they disappeared. The great herds they followed were gone, and with them, the lifeblood of an entire way of life. Around the same time, 75% of the planet's megafauna, mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths, short-faced bears, all vanished within a geological heartbeat. Some say climate change ended them. Others whisper a fire from the sky, a comet or fragments that struck the earth, igniting forests and darkening the air. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: silence. A great aching silence that stretched across the world. The people who survived watched their landscapes transform. Familiar rivers grew wild, fertile plains turned to dust, populations collapsed, villages disappeared. For thousands of years, humanity existed in fragments, memories scattered like embers from a dying fire. But within that darkness, knowledge flickered. They remembered the stars even as skies filled with ash. They remembered how to shape stone, how to sail along coasts, how to mark the passing of seasons with precision. Yet so much was lost. The great knowledge of astronomy, of megalithic engineering, of oceanic navigation. It was as if a library had burned, leaving only a few pages drifting in the wind. The survivors might have looked at the ruins of their world and felt a grief beyond words, not just for the lives lost, but for the wisdom buried. Every civilization holds the belief that it is the first, but perhaps we are not the first, only the latest to remember again. On every continent, remnants of stone whisper the same thing: we have been here before. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe. In Indonesia, Gunung Padang. In Louisiana, Poverty Point, massive earthworks built 3,500 years ago, shaping spirals and mounds visible from the sky. each separated by oceans, yet connected by design, curves, alignments, intentions that mirror one another across time. Perhaps the earth itself goes through cycles: creation, loss, remembrance, and forgetting, just as we do. And after each reset, the survivors rise again carrying fragments of a song they no longer fully understand. When the earth forgot, humanity became its memory.
When the fires faded and the floods withdrew, humanity was left standing amid ruins and silence. But something remarkable happened. They began again. From memory, from ashes, from instinct older than history. The survivors of the ancient world, those who had seen the floods, who had watched the sky burn, became wanderers. They followed the rivers and coasts, carrying what little they remembered: stories, patterns, symbols carved into stone. Wherever they went, they built, not just homes, but messages, temples, pyramids, circles of stone, each a language the earth itself could read. In the valley of the Nile, long before pharaohs, legends spoke of the followers of Horus, wise beings who came from a drowned land in the west. They taught their survivors how to build in stone, how to measure the heavens, how to align temples with the stars. Egypt would later rise upon those teachings, like a memory turning into a monument. Farther east, in the land of Sumer, ancient tablets tell of the Anunnaki, not gods in the modern sense, but those who came from the heavens, bearers of knowledge who rebuilt cities after the flood. They taught writing, agriculture, mathematics, fragments of a forgotten science. Perhaps they were not visitors from the sky, but survivors from before the waters, carrying the memory of lost mastery. Across the sea, in the Americas, the Olmecs and later the Maya built pyramids aligned with the solstices, mapped the stars with precision that modern astronomy still respects. They spoke of ancestors who came from across the water, bringing fire and time. Even in Polynesia, elders speak of a homeland now beneath the waves. Hawaii, Mu, Lemuria, different names for the same vanished world. Everywhere, the same pattern. Civilizations rising suddenly, fully formed as if remembering something rather than inventing it. Stone circles in Britain, ziggurats in Mesopotamia, pyramids in Mesoamerica, all echoed the same geometry, the same reverence for the heavens. It's as if humanity had awoken from a long dream, determined to rebuild the sky on Earth. Some archaeologists call it coincidence. Others see it as cultural diffusion. But perhaps it's something deeper, a genetic memory carried in our collective soul. A longing to rebuild what was lost, to reconnect with the builders who came before. Maybe that's why thousands of years later we still feel awe before ancient stone, because in some quiet way we recognize it. The precision of the cuts, the alignment to stars. It speaks to something buried in us, something timeless. What if civilization itself is not a straight line, but a heartbeat, rising and falling, forgetting and remembering over and over? What if every age is both a beginning and an echo? We call them lost civilizations, but perhaps they are not lost at all. They live on in our architecture, in our myths, in the way we look at the stars. Every monument, every temple, every question we ask about where we came from is a reply, a whisper from those who built before us. Remember.
Every ancient culture remembers the same catastrophe. Different names, different gods, the same story. From the deserts of Mesopotamia to the mountains of the Andes, from the frozen north to the tropical isles, the oldest myths speak of water that came without mercy. A flood so vast it erased everything humanity had built. Whether written on clay, carved into stone, or whispered by firelight, the tale remains the same. The world drowned once, and only a few survived to remember. In the book of Genesis, the story is simple, yet immense. Humanity, corrupt and proud, faces divine reckoning. For 40 days and nights, rain falls without end. Mountains vanish beneath the rising sea. Only Noah, his family, and a chosen gathering of animals survive within the ark, a floating seed of life amid chaos. When the waters recede, a dove returns with an olive branch, and the world begins anew. But centuries before the Bible, the same story was written in clay. The Epic of Gilgamesh, from Sumer, the cradle of civilization, tells of Utnapishtim, a man warned by the gods to build a vessel before the deluge. He gathers his family, his craftsmen, and the seeds of all living things. When the flood comes, it drowns the world for 6 days and 7 nights. When silence finally returns, his boat rests upon a mountain. The gods, ashamed of their destruction, bless Utnapishtim with eternal life. Across the world in India, another flood came too, this time carried by myth, not wrath. The story of Manu speaks of a wise man who saved humanity with the help of a god disguised as a fish, Matsya, the first avatar of Vishnu. The fish warns him of the coming deluge, and Manu builds a boat to carry seeds of every species. When the flood arrives, the divine fish guides him through the endless waters until they find land again. From Manu's descendants, humanity begins anew. In Greece, the tale echoes once more. The gods grow weary of human arrogance, and Zeus sends a flood to cleanse the earth. Only Deucalion and Pyrrha, husband and wife, survive, floating in a wooden chest for 9 days. When the waters fall, they throw stones over their shoulders, and from those stones, new humans are born. Life begins again, shaped from the bones of the earth itself. And in China, the story becomes one of endurance, not destruction. The flood comes not as punishment, but as chaos itself, a force that must be tamed. The hero Yu the Great works for years to channel the waters, carving rivers and canals, learning the ways of the earth. His effort births the first Chinese dynasty, proof that wisdom, not wrath, can rebuild the world. Every culture, every language, every mountain has its flood. The Inca tell of Viracocha, the great creator who cleansed the world with water before making humanity anew. The Polynesians remember a sea that rose to swallow their islands. The Australian Aboriginals speak of the time when the sea came walking. These are not coincidences. They are memories, fragments of a single event that echoed across every shore. Modern science calls it the Younger Dryas, a sudden, violent cooling and melting that began around 12,900 years ago, ending the Ice Age in chaos. Ice sheets collapsed, oceans rose, rain fell for generations, and humanity, scattered and small, turned its trauma into stories, stories that would outlive time itself. Perhaps every flood myth is not about divine punishment, but survival, not about wrath, but remembrance, a warning left by those who lived through the storm, carved in myth so that we would never forget.
So, if every ancient story remembers a flood, perhaps it's because they all lived through one. Across continents and oceans, over 200 flood legends echo the same event, told in different languages, adorned with different gods, yet beating with the same heart. These are not stories of imagination. They are memories sung in myth, carried by generations like a candle through the dark. In the cold north, the Inuit of the Arctic speak of a time when the sea rose and swallowed the tundra, forcing their ancestors to flee to high mountains, guided by the cries of birds. In the Pacific, the Hawaiians remember a flood sent by the god Cain, where only one man and his family survived in a great canoe. The Maori of New Zealand recall a world drowned in tears, the ocean rising as the sky wept for the earth. Across Africa, tribes from Mali to Tanzania share the tale of water that came without wind, of rivers that reversed their flow, of people saved only by climbing to sacred hills. In the Americas, nearly every indigenous nation has a flood story. The Hopi, the Navajo, the Maya, the Quechua. Each speaks of waters rising, of chosen survivors, of renewal. What's striking is not just that these stories exist, but that they agree on when. Many of them date the flood to a time when the world was colder, when ice still lay heavy on the northern lands, roughly 12,000 years ago. And that number, once dismissed as symbolic,
now aligns precisely with geological evidence of the Younger Dryas cataclysm. The Earth itself remembers, even when humans forget. Beneath Greenland's ice lies the Hiawatha Crater, a 31-kilometer scar, likely from a comet impact around 12,900 years ago. Across North America, a strange black layer of carbon and soot, called the black mat, marks the same moment in time. Within it lie nano-diamonds and platinum anomalies, remnants of cosmic fire. When that comet struck, it shattered the ice sheets. Massive floods tore through the continents. Wildfires raged, skies darkened, temperatures plummeted, oceans surged. To the people who lived through it, it must have felt like the end of the world, and in a way, it was. Yet, somehow, they survived, and they told their children, who told theirs, until the story became sacred. The flood was no longer a disaster, it was a teacher. It reminded humanity of its fragility, of the thin line between creation and destruction. Perhaps this is why every version of the flood myth ends the same way, with renewal. In every story, the waters recede, the survivors begin again, and life returns. Noah plants a vineyard. Utnapishtim releases a bird. Manu's boat finds land. Yu tames the rivers. Viracocha shapes the new world. Different names, different continents, the same truth. The deeper we look into myth, the more it begins to look like memory, encoded in symbols, protected by faith, carried across time because it was too important to lose. When science and story begin to converge, what once was legend becomes history, whispered in another language. The world remembers itself through water.
For thousands of years, humanity told stories of the Great Flood, not to entertain, but to remember. Long before satellites and science, people knew the world could change overnight. They carried that memory in song, in scripture, in the trembling fear that water once taught them. Today, we finally see what they saw. The oceans still hold the scars. Beneath waves and sediment lie the drowned shorelines of a world that ended 12,000 years ago. Continental shelves, now hundreds of feet underwater, were once plains of forests and rivers, home to millions of people. In sonar scans, the ghosts of ancient rivers still trace their paths along the seabed. The planet remembers. Science calls it the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, a chain of cataclysms triggered by a cosmic event. Around 12,900 years ago, fragments of a comet entered the atmosphere, striking the vast ice sheets of North America and Northern Europe. The impact unleashed floods the size of continents, melted glaciers, set forests ablaze, and cast a veil of ash across the sky. Temperatures plunged, the climate collapsed, the earth reset itself. What ancient people witnessed as divine punishment was, in truth, the earth reshaping its own skin. Yet they did not forget. They encoded that memory in myth, because stories endure where monuments crumble. Each version of the flood, from Noah to Utnapishtim, from Manu to you the Great, is a verse of the same ancient song, a warning, a remembrance, a truth spoken through metaphor. What makes these myths sacred is not the wrath of gods, but the resilience of humankind. The ark, the boat, the vessel, in every story, it is not only a means of survival, but a symbol of renewal. It carries seeds, animals, families, but more than that, it carries knowledge, memory, and hope. The flood drowns ignorance, and what floats above it is wisdom. Even now, we can feel the echo of that ancient reset. The world is once again changing, the seas rising, the poles shifting, the balance trembling. Perhaps that is why these stories still move us, because they remind us that we have been here before, that life endures, that the same water which destroys also gives birth. When we listen to the old myths, we are not hearing superstition, we are hearing survival. The language of the flood is the language of remembrance. Water remembers shape, energy, sound. So does humanity. Our blood, our tears, our oceans, all hold traces of that first deluge. Maybe that's why so many religions begin with water. Creation through water, cleansing through water, rebirth through water. Because somewhere deep within, we remember that everything we love once began again after the storm. And so, the flood myths endure, not as stories of fear, but as hymns of endurance. The ancients didn't want us to dread the water. They wanted us to respect it, as the memory of what we survived and the mirror of what we may face again. The oceans still whisper their words. Every wave that breaks against the shore is an ancient syllable, retelling the moment when the world almost ended and then began anew. Because the truth is simple and eternal. The sea forgets nothing, and neither do we.
When the waters receded, silence covered the world. The Great Plains had become oceans, and once proud mountains now rose like islands from a drowned earth. What had been cities were silt and shadow, and yet life, stubborn, fragile, miraculous, remained. Humanity had almost vanished. Modern genetic studies tell us that around 12,000 years ago, something extraordinary happened, a bottleneck. The global population, once spread across continents, collapsed to perhaps as few as a few thousand souls. Every person alive today carries the DNA of those few who endured the cataclysm. We are the children of survival itself. Who were they? The records are gone, but the mountains remember. In the high Andes of South America, legends tell of people who climbed before the waters rose, guided by the god Viracocha, the great teacher who appeared after the flood. He came in white robes,
carrying a staff of light, and taught them how to farm, to measure the stars, to build with stone. The Inca believed their civilization began when Viracocha walked the earth. Half a world away, in the Himalayas, similar stories whisper through the thin air. The survivors there built new villages above the clouds, preserving seeds and stories. Some of these mountain peoples, scholars believe, became the first farmers of the Indus Valley and northern China, sowing wheat and rice in the wet soil of rebirth. In the Ethiopian highlands, one of the oldest habitable regions on Earth, DNA studies trace ancient lineages that survived through the Ice Age and the Flood. These people, high above sea level, may have kept alive the human story when others were washed away. Even now, their oral traditions speak of a reign that lasted generations. Not all survivors lived on mountains. Some took to the sea. Across the Pacific, the ancestors of Polynesia and the maritime Southeast Asia became the people of the water. They built boats, followed stars, and learned to read the rhythm of the waves. For them, the flood was not an end, but a beginning. The ocean became their new world. And in caves scattered across Europe and the Middle East, people found refuge underground. They lit fires deep within limestone halls, painting stories on the walls: bison, mammoths, hunters, constellations. These were not just art, they were memory. A message to the future. We were here. We survived. The survivors were not many, but they were enough. Each group carried a fragment of the world before: seeds, tools, songs, and stories. When they finally met again, thousands of years later, those fragments became the foundation of what we call civilization. Sometimes survival is not loud. It is a whisper passed between generations, a fire kept hidden from the wind. We, the billions of today, are the echo of that whisper. When the flood ended, the earth was quiet, but not empty. The survivors wandered across the new world, carrying memories of what once was. They remembered the stars, the patterns of the seasons, the shapes of forgotten tools. Yet time erases fast, and knowledge fades like smoke. And then the teachers came. In every ancient civilization, there is a story of someone, not a god, not quite human, who arrived after the flood to rebuild the world. They appear at dawn, emerging from the sea, the mountains, or the desert. They do not conquer, they teach. They bring order to chaos, wisdom to fear, and symbols to silence. In Egypt, that figure was Thoth, known later by the Greeks as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great.
He was the keeper of wisdom, the inventor of writing, mathematics, and time itself. The ancient texts say he measured the heavens and mapped the earth. The priests of Heliopolis called him the one who spoke the words that brought the world into being. To them, Thoth was not born, he returned. In the high Andes, long after the waters fell, the Inca told of Viracocha, the bearded man who came from the sea, clothed in white. He carried no weapon, only knowledge. He taught them agriculture, architecture, astronomy, and when his work was done, he vanished across the Pacific, promising to return in a time of need. Some legends say he walked on water. Across the oceans in the land of the Aztecs, they called their savior Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. He too arrived after a great flood, teaching humanity to build cities, study the stars, and cultivate maize. He forbade sacrifice, preached compassion, and was later remembered as the bringer of light. When he left, he sailed eastward, just as Viracocha had sailed west. Far older still are the Sumerians, the first to write history. Their tablets tell of Oannes, a being who emerged from the Persian Gulf, half man, half fish, bringing the gifts of civilization to humankind. He taught writing, architecture, law, and mathematics, then returned to the sea at night. The Babylonians said there were 7 such sages, the Apkallu, who appeared after the flood to restore order. 4 names, 4 continents, 1 story. Modern historians may call them myths, but even myths are maps of memory. Perhaps these gods were not divine at all, but survivors, the last keepers of a forgotten civilization destroyed by the flood. Imagine a handful of people who still remembered the old world, its stars, its machines, its stories. To those who had lost everything, they must have looked like gods. And perhaps that is how civilization began again, not from scratch, but from fragments of something far older. Each legend, from Thoth to Oannes, carries the same pattern. Water recedes, darkness lingers, a teacher arrives, and knowledge returns. The same message echoes through them all, that wisdom is never lost, only waiting to be remembered. Every human alive today carries the memory of the flood, not in words, but in our blood. Hidden within the double helix of DNA lies the proof of how close we came to extinction. Around 12,000 years ago, as the Ice Age collapsed into chaos, humanity faced its narrowest escape. Geneticists call it a bottleneck, a time when our entire species shrank to perhaps as few as 10,000 individuals, maybe fewer. Every heartbeat today is descended from that fragile thread of survival. The evidence is written in our cells. Across continents, genetic diversity drops sharply around the end of the Pleistocene, the very moment the floods and fires swept the world. Populations that had once been many
splintered into small, isolated groups. Some sought refuge in the mountains, others by the sea, others in deep caves. And when the waters receded, those fragments began to wander again, carrying with them the seeds, both literal and genetic, of the next world. You can still trace the journey of those survivors. Mitochondrial DNA, passed down from mothers, reveals only a few ancient lineages from which all modern humans descend. The mitochondrial Eve, as scientists call her, was not a single woman, but the representative of an unbroken chain of survival that reached through ice, ash, and time. Each culture's first ancestor, Noah, Manu, Deucalion, Nuwa, may reflect this truth. Myths speak of a chosen few who restart humanity. Science shows that there really was a restart. The flood legends and the genome whisper the same message in two different tongues. But there's another layer to this story, one more human, more fragile. After the flood, those few who remained had to relearn everything: hunting, farming, building, language, even memory itself. What we now call the Neolithic Revolution, the birth of agriculture, pottery, and permanent homes, began within a few centuries of the flood's end. Civilization didn't rise from nowhere, it rose from recovery. The survivors adapted. Their children learned to plant rather than chase. They tamed fire, then animals, then the earth itself. Slowly, the chaos gave way to rhythm again. Sunrise and harvest, moon and tide. And from that rhythm, culture returned. Maybe that's why every ancient story speaks with reverence about beginnings. Why the Egyptians honored Thoth as the reckoner of time. Why the Sumerians built ziggurats as mountains reborn. Why the Chinese drew dragons curling like rivers. And why the Inca raised temples to Viracocha on the peaks. Each act of creation was also an act of remembering. Even now, our DNA carries the echo of that rebirth. Every genome is a record, not of gods, but of endurance, of fire and cold, fear and hope. When you look in the mirror, you are looking at the sum of every survivor who ever lived. Perhaps this is the real meaning of the myths. Not that God saved us, but that we became the gods, the caretakers of memory, the builders of the next dawn. We are not just descendants of those who lived through the flood. We are the flood's answer. 12,000 years ago, the sky fell. A comet, or perhaps 1,000 fragments of one, struck the earth, shattered the ice, and drowned the world. But what if that was not a random event? What if it was part of a cosmic rhythm, a heartbeat written in stone and starlight? Modern astronomers have begun to suspect that the Younger Dryas impact was not an isolated catastrophe. Instead, it might have been one movement in a repeating cycle, a 12,000-year rhythm of destruction and renewal. The key lies in the heavens. Earth orbits the sun not in perfect emptiness, but through a stream of debris. the Taurid meteor stream. Every year, between June and November, our planet passes through it. Most of what burns in our skies are tiny grains of dust. But hidden within this celestial river are giant fragments, the remnants of the same comet that may have ended the Ice Age. Astronomers have tracked some of these fragments, massive, dark, dormant bodies several kilometers across, moving silently through the void. They are part of the Encke comet complex, and some come surprisingly close to Earth's orbit. In cosmic terms, they are next door. Every 12,000 years or so, the geometry of the solar system aligns in such a way that Earth's path intersects the densest part of this stream. When that happens, the odds of impact multiply. Some researchers, like Dr. Victor Klube and Bill Napier, have long warned that these periodic encounters may be responsible for repeated extinctions, each one resetting human history. It's unsettling to realize the same cosmic pathway that once brought fire and flood still loops through space, awaiting its next crossing. NASA's Near-Earth Object Program and the Space Guard Survey now watch the skies daily, tracking more than 30,000 known asteroids and comets. They calculate trajectories, estimate risks, and search for newcomers. The good news is that none pose an immediate threat. The bad news is that space is vast, and most objects are still invisible, dark, cold, waiting. The sky looks calm, but calm is deceptive. The same stars that guided our ancestors can one day bring what they feared most. Ancient myths remembered this. The Egyptians spoke of the serpent of fire that fell from the heavens. The Hopi told of the sky turning to stone. The Greeks called it Phaeton, the child who lost control of the sun's chariot. Over and over, cultures across the world warned that what happened once can happen again. And maybe, deep down, we already know this truth. It's written not only in science, but in our dreams, our art, our instinct to build and to preserve. We sense the fragility of our world, how thin the line is between progress and oblivion. Perhaps that's why we look up every night, not just in wonder, but in remembrance.
The Earth has always been fragile. We forget this because our days feel endless. Our technology feels unbreakable, and our cities seem eternal. But the planet, our home, lives and breathes on cycles far greater than we can see. Right now, something quiet yet extraordinary is happening. The magnetic field of Earth, our invisible shield against cosmic radiation and solar storms, is weakening. Over the past 2 centuries, it has lost nearly 10% of its strength. And the region above the South Atlantic, known as the South Atlantic Anomaly, is thinning faster still, exposing satellites to dangerous radiation. The Earth's magnetic poles are drifting. In the last century alone, the North Magnetic Pole has moved hundreds of kilometers, racing from Canada toward Siberia.
Scientists know this has happened before. Geological evidence shows that the planet's field has flipped many times, sometimes within only a few thousand years. When that happens, compasses fail, radiation increases, and parts of the atmosphere thin. Life must adapt or fade. None of this means the end is near, but it reminds us that even the ground beneath our feet, the field that makes our compass point north, is not permanent. Some scientists have noticed an unsettling rhythm. These magnetic shifts, ice ages, and cosmic impacts seem to cluster roughly every 12,000 years. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or perhaps these are harmonics of the same cosmic pattern, the solar system breathing in cycles too vast for us to grasp. Imagine the magnetic field weakens, the poles wander, and during this vulnerable window, Earth passes again through the densest region of the torrid meteor stream. It's not prophecy, it's probability. In such an alignment, even a single fragment several kilometers wide could change everything. NASA's Space Guard survey and Near-Earth Object Program constantly scan for potential impactors. Most days, their data reads calm. But every now and then, a faint blip appears. An asteroid newly discovered, a comet seen again after centuries. Most will miss us by millions of kilometers, yet the margin between safety and silence is as thin as atmosphere. The ancients didn't have telescopes, but they watched the sky. They saw patterns, fire that returned every few generations, stars that moved against the others. They carved their warnings into stone, into myth, into memory. They knew that civilization rests on a fragile balance and that arrogance invites amnesia. We have built our world atop steel, glass, and data, yet it is still suspended within that same delicate field, the only thing standing between us and the raw chaos of space. So when we look up tonight, we might remember the shield that protects us is alive, and it too can change. The same magnetism that paints our auroras can one day falter, and when it does, the lights that dance in the poles may shine above every city on Earth. It would be beautiful and terrifying.
The comet stream that destroyed the ancient world is still out there. Every year, our planet passes through it, silently, unknowingly, a reminder written in orbit that nothing in the heavens ever truly ends. We live in an age of light, yet we walk upon the bones of forgotten worlds. Beneath every city lies 1,000 layers of time, stone upon stone, memory upon memory. We think of ourselves as new, but we are old beyond measure. We are the echo of those who faced the sky and survived its fire. The lesson of the flood is not fear, it is humility. It tells us that civilization is not permanent, that progress is not armor, and knowledge is not invincibility. The flood is both a warning and a mirror. It shows us what we can lose, but also what we can become when everything is lost.
When the world ended 12,000 years ago, there was no technology, no governments, no global plan. There were only people, frightened, scarred, clinging to one another beneath a cold, ash-gray sky. And somehow they endured. They rebuilt. They remembered. That is why we are here. Every tool we use, every word we speak, every song we sing, carries within it a faint memory of that survival. Humanity has always been fragile, but we have also been astonishingly resilient. The same fire that destroys also warms us. The same water that drowns also nourishes. The same darkness that ended the old world made way for the dawn of this one. Modern science watches the sky with telescopes, computers, and satellites. Yet the ancients watched it with something else: reverence. They looked up not only to measure, but to listen. They understood that the stars are not silent. They whisper, in their slow and endless motion of beginnings and ends. We are the listeners now, and what they once feared, we now have the power to understand, perhaps even to prevent. But only if we remember, because the danger of forgetting is far greater than any comet. Forgetting makes us repeat what we once survived. So as you drift to sleep tonight, remember, the same stars that once watched Atlantis sink now watch you. The same earth that shook and burned now rests beneath your feet. And the same blood that beat in the hearts of the survivors beats in yours. You are the continuation of an unbroken chain, stretching back through time, across storms, through silence. You are living proof that life can begin again. As your eyes grow heavy, let the noise of the world fade away. Hear only the rhythm of your breath, the same rhythm that carried our ancestors through the flood. And know that you are their legacy. The flood came, the world ended, but we endured. Sleep well, survivor. The stars are still watching.